folks, I want to give you an overview of the midterm assignment and my expectations of it. I usually get a lot of questions about it, so take a couple minutes, watch this video, and if you still have more questions, then go ahead and email me with those questions. So I have pulled up for you Campus Cruiser, and I want to point out a couple of things here. This is what your welcome page should look like. So there's an announcement up here. The video I'm making will go right in here with these other videos. And I want to pull your attention over to the shared files. So if you click on that, there's a couple tabs here. Assignments. So to get to the midterm, you'll click on this document here. Mine's on another tab up here. So there's that. There's a midterm rubric, and there's a sample paper here for you. And we'll go through all of these right now. So the midterm. So basically what you're doing for the midterm is you are going to choose someone to interview. This person should have at least one child. They can have more. But they should have at least one child who's around 8 years old or older. Obviously, they can be much older. That's fine. But the reason I choose 8 is because you're going to be asking them about some developmental theories. And I'd like for them to have experienced a bunch of them before they're answering these questions. Please do not interview your own parents. We are biased in our views and opinions in that way. So if you have an aunt, an uncle, a grandparent, a coworker, remember that this can be a male or a female. So let me see here. All right. So just basics. You're using these things here. This is called a subheading. So there's a few subheadings with different topics. So first, you're just going to gather identifying information. Who are they? Who are their kids? What are their genders? How old were you when you had each kid? Was having children planned or a surprise? You can add in more information there, maybe where they're from. But I'm just giving you a little bit of an outline of maybe some possible questions you'll ask them. The development. So we want to look at a couple things here. First is physical development, cognitive development, and then social and emotional development. And so I want you to talk about the things that are in bold, definitely. Everything else in here is a suggestion. So let me go through this. So on 1A, genetics, you're going to ask them about nature versus nurture. And I have here a page number. This is the exact page number that it is in my textbook. It may not be exactly what it is in your textbook because you might have a different edition. I have the teacher's edition, so mine might be mildly different than yours, but it'll be around those page numbers. Every page number that you see listed on this document comes from the table of content in my book. So you can go in and look in your table of contents in the front of your textbook, and it should have where nature and nurture starts, and you can go to that page. So genetics, nature versus nurture. So this basic concept, you're going to explain to them. Do children grow up and behave like one parent over the other? Why? Is that because it's instinctual, it's innate within them? Or is it based on learned behavior? So if this person has more than one child, you can pick to have them either focus on one child, or if they have like strong points and opinions about different children, that's fine. Just kind of explain that a little bit in your in the beginning of your summary. Obviously, if it's an only child, then you're only going to be talking about one child. So the question here is, who is the child more like, the father or the mother? Or if it's two moms or two dads, that's fine too. You're just going to tell me which parent they're more like. How does the parent know, the person you're interviewing? Do they think it's because of genetics? Or is it something that we learn based on our environment? So you're going to discuss that a little bit. All of these theories, you're going to have to read before you do your interview. You're going to have to basically teach it to the person that you're interviewing and then get their opinion on how this applies to them and their child. And that's kind of the main point of this assignment, is you're going to demonstrate to me that you really understand these topics in the way that you're explaining them back to me in your paper. Okay, physical development. So you're going to talk about normal development versus abnormal development. And be aware that I'm not asking you to say, hey, is your child messed up in some blunt way. But did they hit all their milestones in a way that they should have? Talk about motor development, sensory development, and if the child didn't, what were some of the roadblocks to this child's development? Did they have asthma? Did they have allergies? Did they have a problem with hearing? Like, what were there any things that affected their development normally? And if there are, you can discuss them briefly. And if not, that's fine too. Cognitive development. So you're going to talk about Piaget here. Piaget is our king of cognitive development theorists. So you're going to ask them, you're going to talk about the 4 stages of cognitive development. Okay? Then you're going to ask them to identify which stage their child is currently in, and based on their age. You're going to ask them for any information related to how the child developed through these stages. So is there any story or any event that happened where the parent kind of knew when the child shifted from one stage to another? And again, they may just be learning this theory for the first time, but you're going to help them through that and process that a little bit and see what kind of information you can gather from them. Cognitive processing. So what I want you to focus on here is problem solving. Excuse me. How did the parent guide their ability to solve problems? So basically, were they allowed to be independent? Did the parent allow them to make mistakes and then grow from them? Or did the parent kind of be what we call a helicopter parent? Did they make decisions for their children and not really allow them to grow and flourish? What kind of guidance did they give their child? We want to know a little bit about how the children's morals developed and stuff like that. So explore that a little bit there. I want to point out that for a lot of people, when you're interviewing them, I do an interview assignment for all of my psychology classes, and the people who you're interviewing think that you're an expert because you're taking a psychology class. And I want to point out here that you're not an expert yet. You're just learning about these theories. And so someone might ask you, oh, is this normal? Is this okay? Am I doing the right thing? Or did I do the right thing? And I want you to simply state, like, oh, I'm not sure. I just want to get some information, and then I'm just going to, use it as an example. You're not to give people an authoritative advice. Excuse me. Social and emotional development. All right, so temperament. Discuss the different styles of temperament, and how would this parent classify their child's temperament? Was it different for more than one child? Attachment. So discuss the different attachment theories. I'm talking about secure, insecure, avoidant. There's 4 attachment styles. Ask the parent to choose an attachment style they have with this child after you explain it to them. If there's, again, more than one child, do they have different attachment styles or the same? Self-concept. How is the child's self-esteem? How is their relationship with other people? So peers, family, acquaintances, and acquaintances could be teachers or family, friends. How is the child developing their values? Does the parent teach them? Does the parent allow the child to explore their values? And then the last subheading I have here is parenting style. So you're going to ask them about their own perspective of their parenting. Do you have to parent different children in different ways? And how so? Get them to explain a little bit more than just the surface level. If one child has an easy temperament, maybe they didn't need to have harsh punishments. Maybe they could just explain what they did right and what they did wrong. You want to get a little bit more in detail with what you're asking them to answer. How close is your parenting style to that of your parents? Highlights of parenting, and how did parenting change them as a person? So you may not get every one of these bullets, but do your best. If they don't have an answer for cognitive processing or cognitive development, and they sit there and they don't really have anything to tell you, just make a note of that in your writing so that I know. I'm asking you to ask a lot of things here and write about it in a short space. So I absolutely understand if I'm giving you more than what I'm expecting to get back. But I do want you to have these discussions with people. Be sure to thank them. Assure them that this information will only be used as an assignment for your psychology class. and you will keep this information confidential. And I really strongly encourage you to do that and earn that person's trust. So that's the first half of the paper. You're going to create a summary of the interview. The second half of the paper, you're going to analyze the summary. So you're going to tell me your opinion in this part. The first part of the paper is you're just basically reporting on the story. And in your analysis is where you'll tell me what you really think. The development of the child, did they develop normally? Did they have roadblocks? Sometimes people won't say it, but you'll know more information. So this is a place where you can put that information. And this is what you'll tell me. Do you agree with what was said? Do you have a different opinion? Maybe you know this person in a different light, and they're what they're stating, you may have a different opinion on. Culture. Does a culture play a part of this person's parenting style or the relationship with their kid? So you can talk about ethnicity, religion, values, anything there. And lastly, your own reflection, thoughts, and opinions. In this analysis part is where most people choose to add in their journal article, and I'll get to that in 1 second. So note that this analysis part is just a good place for that. So in total, this should be 4 to 6 pages of content. So in addition to those 4 to 6 pages, you're making a cover page, then those 4 to 6 pages of content, and then the last page will be your works cited page. So really you'll have, 6 to 8 pages if you were to print them out, but those 4 to 6 pages of actual writing. Typed double-spaced APA format. So I want to make a note and go back to this Campus Cruiser. If you go to the home page, I have a video here, APA Writing Help. Watch this video. I go through in detail what my expectations of APA writing are. And I also show you a little demonstration on the Middlesex County College Library website to help you find some resources there. Let's see here. So basically, overall in your paper, you should demonstrate to me that, hey, I know these theories, I understand these concepts, and you're demonstrating your mastery of that to me. So in your book, you're going to make sure you use the theories and concepts there to do the research. So when you're writing about Piaget, or any of these, they're all from your book, but for example, Piaget, you'll make a citation saying, this is where I found that information. That's really important. That's one of the things I have to grade you on throughout this course. So if you have questions on how to do that after you watch that APA citation video, please email me. We can set up a phone call, we can Skype, or just email back and forth. That's absolutely fine. So there's a rubric here. So the first thing here is organization, and I want you to use subheadings. This is how you get 5 points here instead of 4. So let me go back, and I'll show you the example as well. But these are the subheadings I use for this paper: identifying information, development of the child, and you can even use these smaller subheadings. In between subheadings, you want to have a couple paragraphs, and then when you change subject, you'll add a new subheading. I'll explain that a little further in the sample. Required information, so 4 or more pages of text. You want to use citations and have a works cited page along with your cover page. Paragraphs, so paragraphs and mechanics. So I do count spelling, grammar. Please make sure you're proofreading your work. It's actually, as your reader, for me, it's distracting when people have typos and stuff like that. It takes away from the meaningful things you have to say. So make sure you're checking your spelling and grammar and those things. Citation, so using your textbook and at least one peer-reviewed journal article. So this is not searching and Googling on the internet. This is using something from the Middlesex County College database, and that is in that video, the APA video. Again, another section here for citation, interview, quality of analysis. This goes through all of these bullet points I have here. So it's just making sure that you are touching these points. All right, so, sorry, I'm just getting this up. Sample interview paper. All right. So this paper is from another one of my courses. The topic in this sample paper was on death and dying. They had to interview someone on that. So your topics are going to be different, but essentially the overall look of the paper is what I'm trying to communicate with you. So this person has a cover page here. Up the top, this is what a running header looks like. This first page will look a little bit different than the rest of them. And they also have a page number here on the top right-hand corner. The running header, the rest of the paper will look like this. It just won't have the words running header. I know that's really weird, but it's an APA style thing, American Psychological Association. This is what they're asking. So just go with it. All right. So these in bold, these are the students' subheadings that they used. Introduction, identifying information. And I want you to note in this paper, which you guys have access to, is the way that they're telling the story. I do not want to know every single thing that was said in the interview. I kind of want you to tell it to me like it's a story. For a lot of people, this paper is difficult because they get so much information, and I'm only asking for 4 to 6 pages. If you go over that 6-page mark, I do take off points as well. And the purpose for that is 4 to 6 pages is enough for you to cut out the fat. Just tell me the most important pieces of information that I'm asking for. Identifying information, beliefs, and these subheadings were ones that I used for their paper, so your subheadings will be these: development of the child, physical development, and so on. You'll see that this person used in-text citation here. This is the author's last name, comma, and the year of publication for the textbook. So that is an example of what that looks like. If you think you're using too many citations in your paper, you're probably not. You're probably using the right amount. Anytime you are giving a definition of a theory or talking really specifically about it, if you had to look it up and read about it in your textbook before you went and write a sentence about it, you need to cite. I can't stress that enough. You need to have way more than way less. So if you're even thinking about it, you probably need to put one in there. Cool. So this is just another example of a citation here. They use a journal article, a peer-reviewed journal article, and there was a few different authors in it, and then they use the date of publication, the year here. So that's an example for you there. And then they use a conclusion, and then their last page, see she has page 8 up here. It says works cited. And then in order of alphabetical order, you're going to list your resources. So this is the textbook that this student used in the class, and then this is the peer-reviewed journal article. Yes, you can have more than these two, but this is the minimum. This is what I'm grading you on, is to have at least your textbook and a peer-reviewed journal article. Okay. If you have any further questions, please let me know. If you need an extension on the paper, please just email me with a date you expect to have it done by. I'm, as a blanket statement, going to say the Sunday after Thanksgiving is when I need to have all papers in. But I do understand that I made it due the night before Thanksgiving, and some of you are going to interview this person at Thanksgiving. So if you need those couple extra days, please just let me know. If you need more than that, I also need to make a special arrangement with you. Otherwise, have a great holiday, and I look forward to reading your papers. Thanks, guys.